All right, so I'm sure you heard a lot of research talks, so I decided instead of research, I will say what are some of the impressions from a while ago. So of course, first, let's acknowledge the fact that we are all here because of Bob's willingness to share his enthusiasm and to inspire us to contribute our best. Many of you may not know this, but I was the first employee that Bob hired when he joined U Ottawa in 2011. So Bob and I met in Professor Hanan Anis's lab at U Ottawa here. And soon after, Bob started his CERC chair position. When I first met Bob, I thought, I'm an experimental physicist, and I assumed that Bob was a theoretical physicist. And boy, I was so wrong. So I soon realized that Bob knows a lot about everything, including all different aspects of physics. So he took so much personal interest in setting up the lab back when we started in 2011. And then the lab was in the site building, even down to making sure that there were enough electrical outlets. And that continued when we were designing labs for the ARC building in 2012. So Bob wanted to make sure that we had enough outlets, and so next time when you plug in your phone for recharging in the ARC building, you have to thank Bob. We were hiring new team members and discussing design plans for labs in the new building. And of course, Bob had a lot to consider back then. One point that has stayed with me throughout this is how generous Bob is with the resources that are available to him. So the first design of the ARC building, which I don't have the picture, so in the first design, the university had only 3 floors. And Bob was not happy with that. He convinced the university administration to add more floors so that it is 5 floors, because he wanted to make sure that there was office space for all the graduate students and the postdocs. So Bob is generous. He has a lot of vision about what things to come. Of course, Bob is very enthusiastic about learning, not just learning about math and science, but he's always continuously learning about things around him, including different cultures of the world. This is, I believe, a picture of Bob and Diane from India at Mehul's wedding. Back in 2011, we were still a small group, and Bob decided that we should have a social get-together for the group. So, of course, for the first get-together, Bob decided that we should celebrate Diwali. Diwali is the festival of lights, and of course, it's natural for an optical physicist to be excited about that. So Bob was all in gear. So Bob and Dan threw a Diwali party for the group. And of course, since we were a very small group, we actually had to import team members from Rochester to be part of to have a big party. So then in 2012, our group grew. We had quite a few members. We could still all sit around a single table. There were we enjoyed a few quick games of football. Some of the people here might remember that. We got our first big laser in the group. This was back in 2012, still. And while all this was happening, so equipment was being added and new team members were being recruited, Bob was always able to shield his research team from the politics and paperwork that typically go along with running such a big research group. And this I know now personally well enough. So all this while seeding key research ideas. So Bob is always there to listen and to give honest feedback about any discussion. So this is crucial. This is very important for the growth of all team members. In 2013, I left Bob's group to take up a faculty position in physics at Carleton University. While my lab was being set up at Carleton, Bob was very generous to share time on his equipment for joint projects. And we continue to collaborate in this exciting field of biophotonics. So I look forward to many more years of joint projects with Bob. Thank you, Bob, and happy birthday.